Civ 6 is the latest Civilization game which I have always been a fan of. Its first expansion, called Rise and Fall, is coming out in February the 8th. With it are 5 new leaders, a few new civs, and a whole bunch of new mechanics. My favorite civ will always be Civ 4, where I can conquer the world with the power of Elvis's thighs, but that's just me.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So instead of getting an actual Canadian civ, not that I was expecting it, we get the Cree, which are technically Canadian, but they're their own First Nations people, like many Native American tribes, and that's cool. I'm glad we're getting a Native American civ, and I'm glad it's Canadian-ish. I was thrilled to see Toronto as a city-state in Civ 6, so this is a nice touch too. Aside from a few famous battles and, well, food, I guess, Canada isn't exactly famous for its rulers and government leaders, so we do have some Native Americans and some pretty cool French people, and just about every other culture. Anyway, Canada's kind of weird like that, so I'm glad they actually borrowed from our history when Firaxis could have easily done so with Native Americans for the good old US of A. With this expansion, however, the existing leader of the Cree, not that Cree, that would be really awesome. This leader, Headman Milton Tutusis, isn't too happy with his historical chief's portrayal, stating it perpetuates this myth that First Nations had similar values that the colonial culture has, and that is one of the conquering other peoples and accessing their land. That is totally not in concert with our traditional ways and worldview. This is not new. Hollywood has done a job for many decades of portraying indigenous peoples in a certain way that has been very harmful. It's a little dangerous for a company to perpetuate that ideology that is at odds with what we know. He was certainly not in the same frame of mind as the colonial powers. That may be true, but this is a civilization game where you're free to play as you like. There's cultural, religious, military, or science victories. These are available to all civs. The depictions of leaders are caricatures, comical exaggerations meant to highlight a certain aspect of their ruling, all for the purposes of playing a cool game of Risk with loads of other tactics aside from Zerg rushes. The abilities of Poundmaker, the Cree leader in the game, has 2 relatively cool and peaceful, or at least resource-based abilities. The leader bonus, Favorable Terms, allows all alliance types to provide shared visibility. Trade routes grant Poundmaker +1 food in the ascending city per camp or pasture in the receiving city. Trade routes also grant Poundmaker +1 gold in the receiving city per camp or pasture in the receiving city. So he really likes alliances, which connects with his agenda, which is Iron Confederacy. He tries to establish as many alliances as possible and likes civs that do the same. He dislikes civs that don't establish alliances. Aside from a unique unit and building each civ gets, that's all we know. There's nothing to get excited over here, especially over a game that has various forms of world conquest. Now, it seems pretty friendly in comparison to aggressive expanders like Queen Victoria or Barbarossa. There's Tamiris, or even Greece's Gorgo, who gains cultural bonuses every time she kills an enemy unit. So the Cree kind of seem like a peaceful trader-like civ, and like most civs in late game, can go military if they so wish. Thankfully, Firaxis is not changing their AI or other such designs to bend to some random existing leader of a Native American tribe, for not being historically accurate in the spirit of colonialism into a gameplay mechanic. I, for one, am thankful Canada, even if indirectly, is being represented in a small way in a popular franchise I happen to enjoy. Same for the Dutch, the Koreans, and the Mongolians, because history and games are cool.